And Mimi Marziani is with us. She is a counsel for the Democracy Program at the Brennan Center for Justice, brennancenter.org. Mimi, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. I've read now 5 stories from the New York Times to TPM to whatnot, and your press release on what Judge Robert Simpson said this morning about the Pennsylvania voter suppression ID law is what I call it, but they call it voter ID laws. And I think I understand it, but I'm not really sure. And so I wanted somebody who really knows what they're talking about to come on here and inform our listeners and our viewers. Tell us what happened today.
Sure. And this has been a slightly unusual procedure. As I'm guessing many of your listeners know, Pennsylvania passed a very strict law requiring certain limited forms of photo identification before folks can vote in this year's election and elections to come. That was challenged. Plaintiffs claimed that it was unconstitutional under Pennsylvania's constitutional right to vote. And originally, the district court judge sided with the state, and he said, you know what, I have a lot of sympathy. I think that there will be a burden on some voters, but that burden on voters is not enough, in his opinion, to nullify the law. Mm-hmm. And so this was a very disappointing ruling for those of us here at the Brennan Center and for advocates across the country.
So
plaintiffs appealed. It went to the state Supreme Court.
Right.
The state Supreme Court said, you know what, we don't think that the district court judge looked at this closely enough. And unless, and we're going to send it back to him, he has to look at what the state is actually doing on the ground to see whether or not the state's doing enough to get IDs into the hands of every eligible voter who wants to cast a vote.
Right.
And so when it went back down to the trial judge looked at all the evidence and said, you know what, I'm not convinced that the state is actually going to be able to get IDs into everybody's hand before November. And so he has enjoined part of the law.
And didn't the trial judge even go a step beyond that and essentially say that the if not the purpose, at least the outcome of this law would be voter disenfranchisement? Yes. I mean, I want to be clear. I mean, the decision is qualified to some extent. He said that there would be disenfranchisement in this election, but not necessarily in elections. So a couple of questions. First of all, this was the state Supreme Court, the state judge. We're looking at the state of Pennsylvania's constitution, which guarantees the right to vote.
Yep.
In Bush v. Gore, correct me if I'm wrong, the U.S. Supreme Court said that at least with regard to electors for President of the United States, we have no constitutional right to vote at the federal level. Is that correct?
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, if you took out your handy Constitution and read through it, which I urge actually everybody to do, it's a short document, it's worth reading, but there is no explicit right to vote the way that we all have an explicit right to speak freely. Well,
there are explicit rights to vote given to specific groups. 13th Amendment gives it to African Americans, people who had previously been in servitude, actually, is the way I think the language. One of the 20-something, the right to vote is given to women. Later on, in 26th Amendment, the right to vote is given to 18-year-olds. So, but there's no. Everybody has a right to vote, is there?
Right. It's a right to vote on equal footing with other citizens.
Right.
It's not a freestanding.
So the reason I asked this...
That's actually a big difference when you look at state constitutions, many of which actually explicitly guarantee a freestanding right to vote.
Well, the reason I asked that question is I'm wondering if there's any chance that this case is going to end up before the Supreme Court of the United States, or is it purely going to be decided based on the Constitution of Pennsylvania?
This case will be decided totally within Pennsylvania. I would have to look back at the original complaint to be 100% certain, but I believe that it was brought wholly under the Pennsylvania state constitution. And actually, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has the final say on matters of Pennsylvania law. The U.S. Supreme Court can't jump in.
Oh, okay. Except in the case of things like Bush v. Gore.
Well, that involved the federal constitution. So unless the plaintiffs have raised that claim, this will stay squarely in Pennsylvania.
Right. Okay. And then the second question, correct me if I'm wrong, but my read of this is that a poll worker can say to somebody who shows up at the polls in November in Pennsylvania, "May I see your identification, please?" And in fact, the word can be spread down the line. In fact, a voter suppression group could even put up a sign at a certain distance from the polling place saying, "You will be asked for your ID," and they can ask for the ID, but the voter can also say, "No, I'm not going to show you," and they still have to be allowed to vote like a normal voter. Doesn't this set up a situation where groups that are aggressively trying to engage in voter suppression still have carte blanche?
I mean, I'm not sure I would go that far. I mean, this is still a significant victory for those of us who want to encourage voting.
Right.
However, the system that you just correctly described will, we fear, lead to a fair amount of voter confusion. And it could be, it could also lead to abuse, but I actually think that our biggest concern is that voters are going to be confused. There's been a lot of media coverage. People maybe, then they're asked for an ID and they don't actually know whether or not they have to show that ID. And unless poll workers are well trained, and the state doesn't have very much time to do that, we could have a situation where there's a lot of misinformation, and that's causing problems both from the voters' point of view because they don't know their rights and they don't know the state of the law, but then also possibly from the poll workers' point of view if they're not properly trained.
Well, the reason I ask is in part, what we're seeing right now, and also a decade or so ago for another book I was writing, I read a biography of Justice Rehnquist, Chief Justice Rehnquist, and he made his way in the Republican Party in the late 50s, early 60s, if I recall the time frame right, it might have been the mid 60s, in Arizona, standing outside the polling places in Native American districts and Hispanic districts, and he's a very tall man. He was like 6'1" or 6'2", and very imposing figure back then, and he was just a lawyer at that time. Loudly demanding to see people's identification and challenging their right to vote, even though Arizona law didn't require any kind of voter ID, he was asserting it, and he would get, successfully, on a good day, a third of the people to simply leave the line because they didn't want to put up with his harassment. And this is not an uncommon tactic. I mean, this has been going on for a long, long time.
Sure. And we do know, actually, there are large groups of people in our country organized rather loosely under a group called True the Vote that have been, quote-unquote, training volunteers.
Yeah, they're trying to get 1 million Rehnquists out there.
Yeah, to actually go out and challenge voters. But as you can surely recognize, asking somebody for ID is just one tactic. Unfortunately, there's, and it changes from state to state, but there are, under the laws of many states, several grounds on which an aggressive challenger, can challenge somebody's eligibility to vote. And you're exactly right that it can be extremely intimidating.
Right. Okay. So we'll see how this plays out on Election Day, right? There's not going to be any further appeals between now and then?
I think it is highly unlikely. I think we're out of time.
Okay. All right. And we are for this segment, too. Perfect timing. Mimi Marziani, counsel with the Democracy Program for the Brennan Center for Justice. BrennanCenter.org is the website. Mimi, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.